Hey, it's Colleen.
Hi, it's Kate.
And it's Megan.
And we're the
Three Scheme Queens. Join us as we discuss popular hoaxes and give you our comedic take on what is fact and what is fiction. If you have a sense of humor and an open mind, come take this journey with us.
We'll tell you what we think, and we'll try to prove it to you.
Is this thing on? Hi.
Welcome back. We told the people Kate is on medical leave, but I do think she's been experiencing some of the
Big Pharma.
Yeah.
We're anti-Big Pharma.
Yeah. So maybe she'll have some findings for us when she comes back in 2 weeks.
Woohoo.
This is our last
Regular episode.
of season 2.
Mm-hmm. Season 2. Oh my God.
We'll come back next week. We'll have the season.
The season of love.
And then we'll have wrapped up 2 years of the podcast.
I know. Oh my God. That's crazy.
Anything new you want to share with the people?
Today we're recording from a new location.
Yes.
This is the first recording at Colleen's new apartment.
Yep.
Megan came and did all my chores for me.
Mm-hmm.
She hung my lights. She's going to hang my curtains.
Well, can we just pause when I said I would come help her? And then this morning I sent her a text. I said, do you have a drill?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have bits? She said, I have a nail and hammers. And she's got these light fixtures she wants mounted.
I had a screwdriver. You think I could have done that with a screwdriver?
No.
Oh.
I was just picturing you like with a hammer, like banging your light fixture, you know.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong, but I
Right.
probably would have put it up with command strips at one point, would have tried that. But the lamp shade is solid glass and heavy.
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? We all have our strengths. You had quite a vision. I think
Yeah.
this place is coming together beautifully.
I think it looks pretty cute.
It does. And next time, maybe we'll be recording from Kate's new location.
Yeah, Kate's new location is cute too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're just making Megan be our handyman.
Well, to be fair, I think she had her dad and her father-in-law.
That's true.
So, and probably Bourbon Boy playing with the stud finder.
Yeah, Megan brought her own stud finder today, guys. I was so
And I said,
I was like, oh my God.
if I were Bourbon Boy, I'd be cracking some joke about where the stud is, you know?
And then Kate
promptly goes, did anyone make a joke about where the stud is? Because Bourbon Boy would have done that. And I was like, yep, I was
so funny.
30 minutes ahead of you on that joke. Okay. So before we get into it, let's do our
Drink check.
This is one of Kate's faves. So sorry she's missing it.
I don't know if I've ever had like a legit one of these.
Bourbon Boy hasn't made you an old fashioned?
No, because he knows better.
Oh.
I don't always drink straight liquor.
Well, what do you think of this?
I think it tastes good. It's kind of sweet. It's a nice bourbon. What was the bourbon of choice for this one?
We're using Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo Trace. Ooh, it's got like a smoky flavor to it.
Because we did the extra step. I made the old fashioned. We used Buffalo Trace. My dad gave me a couple of his bourbon flavored cherries, and we topped it off with the smoker. So
yeah, the smoke really pulls through.
You know how much you'd pay? You know how much you would pay for this at a bar?
A drink like this, I bet it would be 15 on the cheaper side.
Yeah, I was thinking like 20.
15 to 18 is probably what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
but I think I greatly enjoy it. I love the quality of ice it came with.
Mm-hmm.
The giant ice cube. I always find those so impressive.
Yeah,
I love some ice balls.
Yep. So let's get into it. This is a listener request.
Ooh, who requested this?
Jillian.
Oh,
friend of the pod.
Jillian. Okay.
Yeah, Jillian said, you know what's coming out next week?
And we said, what, Jillian?
The Superman movie.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that Marvel?
That's DC.
Oh, I should have known that because when I get into the story, there's a lot of
talks about DC. Yeah,
you're right. My bad. That's so embarrassing.
That is kind of embarrassing on your part.
And
historically, the DC redos have not been doing well. So I'm intrigued just to hear how this one goes.
Well, I don't even know who's playing Superman.
He looks like Superman. I'll tell you what, tall, dark hair, curly, handsome. I can't remember what else he's in.
But it's not Henry. David Cornsweet
Is Superman.
is Superman.
What's his previous work?
I'm trying to see. I don't know if he was in Twisters, which I still haven't seen.
The new one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Twisters.
we should watch
Twister. He was in House of Cards.
He was in House of Cards.
The Politician, Hollywood.
Yeah.
Look Both Ways, Pearl, We Own This City, Lady in the Lake. All of this is to say that next week, the new Superman movie is coming out. And in honor of that, we are going to revisit the Superman curse, and specifically the original Superman, George Reeves, and his mysterious death.
Oh, I didn't. How many Superman is this like James Bond? How many have there been?
Well, this is my introduction.
Oh, it's all part of the intro. Right?
No, here's what I wrote. Before there was Henry Cavill or Tom Welling, Dean Cain or Christopher Reeve, we had the OG Superman, George Reeves. So George Reeves, initially Superman was a cartoon. George Reeves was the first Superman on television. Then we had Christopher Reeve in the movies. Remember, he had that tragic...
I actually only know Henry Cavill as Superman.
So Christopher Reeve had a horseback riding accident in Culpeper, Virginia.
Oh, he's a local.
Broke his neck.
Oh, my God.
And paralyzed for a number of years before eventually dying. I can't believe you aren't familiar. And then there was remember Dean Cain was in...
what does Christopher Reeves look like? Maybe I do know him.
You know him. Dean Cain was in the Superman TV show with Terry Hatcher, who was Lois Lane.
Okay.
That was sort of like when I was growing.
This is the OG Superman right here?
This is Christopher Reeve.
Show me. Oh. Okay. No, I recognize him now. Yeah. I don't know if I've seen this Superman, though.
And then
he's handsome.
He was handsome. And then, so then we had Dean Cain. That was a TV show. And then when I was in high school, Smallville.
Oh, I used to beg to stay up to watch Smallville. I loved that show. I've just been rewatching it on something. I can't remember what it's on now.
Well, what you'll note
is the guy in that one. Oh my gosh.
Maybe not so much Dean Cain. He's doing like Lifetime and Hallmark movies, but all of these, like Tom Welling really hasn't done. He's had a couple little movie parts.
That's the Smallville one.
Yeah,
he's not really been in much.
They all just like get the Superman curse and they get typecast and they can't get other roles. So we'll talk about that today.
Well, Henry Cavill's doing pretty good.
And then we had Henry Cavill.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's because he's British.
And he just did like one. I mean, again, these people were all in like
I mean, what else did Henry Cavill do?
Tom Welling had like 10 seasons or something of Smallville, right?
That's
and
pretty good.
And Christopher Reeve, I think, was in multiple movies. I think it's like maybe just Henry Cavill doing like a one-off.
And Henry Cavill did Superman and then like The Witcher. Like, what else has he done though, other than those two? And he's no longer The Witcher. I don't know. I talk a lot of talk, but I don't follow him, so I really wouldn't know what he's doing.
Oh, he's been he was in Batman vs Superman and Man of Steel.
That were all not good. They were all not good.
Justice League.
He was good in the gnome Gnomes movie.
He was in Argyle, which isn't that the one that they allegedly was by Taylor Swift?
I forgot about that.
The Tudors.
Okay, he's been in stuff.
He's had a career. Maybe the difference too is that he had a career before.
Also, he's kind of a family man.
I thought Smallville had like 10 seasons. Yes, 10 seasons.
I love Smallville. He was so handsome. He was also in like
I remember he was like in Cheaper by the Dozen.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Cheaper by the Dozen. He was like the older brother.
Yeah,
he's handsome.
Oh, he was in Lucifer. I liked Lucifer.
Oh, the show.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you watched that show. I like that show.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's like a police procedural show. You didn't.
Yeah, you're right. I kind of forgot. But it's also sci-fi. I feel like you don't really watch sci-fi.
Not so much.
Anyways,
so that was a nice little recap. But again, we're talking about George Reeves, who again,
horseback guy.
No, that's Christopher Reeve.
Oh,
Christopher Reeve.
Oh my God! Wait, I didn't realize.
That's what I'm saying. There's
a different name.
That's what I'm saying. There's a Superman curse.
Okay.
So we're talking about George Reeves.
Okay.
The very first human to play. Like before they say a cartoon, right?
Okay.
But the very first person who like portrayed Superman, George Reeves.
Okay.
So he was an actor in the 1930s. He had this burgeoning career that sort of stalled when he enlisted in World War II. And he was promised, like, when you come back from the war, we're going to make you a star.
Right.
Okay. So unfortunately, though, after the war, he struggled to find parts because the movie industry was sort of struggling and he just didn't have that forward momentum that he had had. So, in need of money, he begrudgingly accepted the role of Superman in the television series Adventures of Superman. The show was a hit, but led to typecasting, and he had difficulty being taken seriously for other acting opportunities. Off screen, Reeves' personal life was tumultuous. He had a long-term affair with Toni Mannix, the wife of MGM executive Eddie Mannix, and later became engaged to a younger woman, Leonore Lemmon.
Ooh, I like her name.
These overlapping relationships, combined with career frustrations and financial stress, ultimately led to him being found dead of a gunshot wound to the head in his Beverly Hills home on June 16, 1959, a home his former girlfriend, Toni Mannix, had purchased for him.
Oh my gosh.
Was it truly suicide? The death was never adequately investigated, and there were discrepancies in the scenes. Witnesses in the house gave conflicting stories. There were delays in calling the police, and multiple bullet holes were reportedly found in the room. Additionally, Reeves' fingerprints were not found on the gun, and some friends claimed that he was in good spirits in the days leading up to his death. So who had motive? Was it his fiancée that he had been fighting with and potentially planning to cancel the wedding? Was it his ex-girlfriend Toni Mannix, who was heartbroken and had been stalking the engaged couple to the point that he had attempted to obtain a restraining order? Or was it her husband, Eddie Mannix, who was to blame? After all, he had mob and police connections as the VP of MGM. Was he tired of just hearing his wife obsess over George?
Mob and police connections.
Mm-hmm.
Red flag.
This is a different era.
That sounds like a
Hollywood.
red flag to me.
So knowing nothing, you're intrigued by Eddie Mannix?
I am. I'm intrigued. I mean, no fingerprints on the gun, but they think it was suicide?
Yep.
Was he wearing a goddamn glove? Like, no.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Not a single print.
No prints.
No, I don't believe it was
No
suicide
gunshot
at all
residue.
then. Well, hold on, wait. What year was this?
Wait.
Fact check?
They were doing fingerprints then.
Oh, okay. That's where I was going.
You said that once on an earlier episode,
and we've already searched
Kathy
it.
lost her mind because she was like, they've been fingerprinting since like the 1800s.
Okay.
This was 1959.
But how accurate? You know what I mean? Like,
I think fingerprints were pretty accurate.
like they would have found prints
Things
if
like-
they were prints.
Like, we'll talk about the gunshot residue. That is something that maybe was not routinely checked for at this time.
right.
But like, I think fingerprints.
Okay. I don't know
legit.
what the limit is. You know what I mean? I don't know what's too modern to ask.
Yeah.
I was born in the era of everything growing and developing.
I know. And that's why Kathy is like, there was a whole world before 1990.
And I believe you, but it
7?
was not nearly as advanced as it is now. 97. Yeah. Yeah.
You're right. Okay. I've been thinking we have done a number now of deaths.
And like possible suicide.
And as someone who says that she's not a conspiracy theorist, that's me.
Yeah.
I do feel like I seem to always think the deaths are 100% a cover up.
Every time. Well, you're also crime junkie, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you have a perspective on crime too.
Uh-huh.
And like, you look for these patterns already. And
Yes.
already it's sounding like suspicious.
You're giving me a lot of credit. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You could solve a murder.
So I did want to go into this with like an open mind because I was like, why do I just always think that these?
Right.
But you know what? It's because it's always fishy. You know.
Every time. They don't make it easy for us. I'm like,
So let me give you some more details here, and then we'll see where you stand. Okay.
all right, let's hear it.
So George Reeves was born George Kiefer Brewer. He was an American actor best known for playing Superman in the 1950s television series Adventures of Superman. He was initially born in Woolstock, Iowa on January 5th, 1914, and he moved to California with his mother several years later. During high school, he got into singing and acting, and he was performing at the Pasadena Playhouse, where he was recruited for a small part in the opening scene of Gone with the Wind.
Mm.
Have you seen it? I feel like that'd be up your alley.
Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
I think I would greatly enjoy it. I've just never, it's kind of a long movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it's more than an hour and a half, I have a hard time.
Okay, so this led him to contracts with Warner Brothers and then later 20th Century Fox. But again, he sounds like he had kind of a mid-career. Like he was in like a lot of B-list movies.
Right.
And I'm unclear if he was drafted or he volunteered, but he went into the U.S. Army Air Forces in 1943. It's like the OG Air Force.
Okay.
And he was in their first motion picture unit where he was on like a Broadway show. So I didn't know you could be
With the Air Force?
Yeah, I didn't know you could be like in the military and that was your
A military Broadway?
that was your commitment. Thank you for serving, sir.
Sounds like a cover up for something else.
And then he went into making all these like training videos and everything.
This is like Captain America. How Captain America does all like he toured while they were at war and sang to all the
like a
soldiers.
USO guy.
Yeah.
It always goes back to Marvel.
After the war, he returns to Hollywood. And again, he's getting some work, but like nothing great. He starred in 2 Best Picture films, so that's kind of exciting. But again, he like just didn't really take off. His career had stalled. He wasn't getting a lot of parts. And in 1951, he was offered the role of Superman, who was the protagonist of a comic strip created by 2 young Jewish immigrants who were high school classmates.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. It had previously been adapted for radio, and now they wanted to adapt it to a TV show. And he didn't really want this role because TV was sort of considered like menial work. It's obviously a lot of work because you have to film a lot of episodes, but like not everyone was watching TV back then.
It was a show. Okay.
It was a TV show. It was like a morning. Yeah. And then there's like a lot of things about, was he upset that like he only had fame with children? But then a lot of people are like, that's not true. He knew he had adult fans. And like some people are like, he really resented this role. But other people say like, he really didn't talk that negatively about it.
So
he took it seriously. So
assumptions.
hard to say. But the rumors are that he was like, he never really loved this role, but this was like he had to pay his bills, you know?
Okay.
The show was a huge success, but his contract had a clause that the studio could call him to film with 30 days notice. So like you can't really be in the middle of like a movie if you constantly
had to go back for the show.
Could have to go back to the show.
Also,
yeah.
But don't they go through seasons of recording? It wasn't like that.
Yeah, it sounds like they were doing a lot of, and I think I saw this also in some of the early Superman movies with like the Christopher Reeves movie. I saw they were recording like filming the first and second at the same time. But like for example, they would film all of the Daily Planet scenes for like the whole season at once to save money.
Yeah.
And then
and then had to refilm for edit.
So then if they get through it and they're like, ooh, we need, then you.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah. And so again, he was able to book some other work, but it was kind of few and far between. And really, he just became known for Superman.
Right.
He had to supplement his income. So he would do a lot of like character engagements and tours as Superman. But people say, you know, in his mid 40s, he was kind of at the time of his death when he was 45. He was getting concerned about his ability to like, how long can I wear this costume and do these stunts and people believe I'm Superman, you know?
Accurate.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because Superman's also not supposed to age.
Is that true?
Actually, I don't know. I thought he doesn't age, but maybe I don't.
I mean, how did Tom Welling grow up?
Well, I don't think he looked that old. Like, makeup. I don't know. Now I don't know.
Tom Welling in
Captain America doesn't age, so maybe I'm just morphing them.
I mean, in Smallville, he's found as a baby or as like
hold up, you're right,
toddler, and then he goes through high school and he grows up and then he moves to
Is
Metropolis.
He gonna become an old man, or does he like plateau for a while?
I don't know. Why don't you Google that?
Yeah, I'm so confused.
Why don't you look that up?
Superman does age, but significantly slower than humans. His Kryptonian physiology, combined with the yellow sun's energy, allows him to absorb and metabolize solar radiation, which both enhances his powers and slows down cellular decay, a primary cause of aging.
So Lois Lane's going to be 100 and he's going to still look 50.
Yeah, it's like Bella and Edward.
Some other fun facts I do have about George, though, the actor. Right. He actually was in the 1932 Olympics boxing. So
really?
That's a flex.
Does Superman.
There's this rumor, and I couldn't actually find proof of it. So this might just be like a story that's been circulating. But there is this story that he was like, again, he had to supplement his income by going to like fairs and stuff dressed up as Superman. Right. And there was this interaction with this young boy who had taken a Luger from his father, who had brought it home from World War II, and brought it to this event and wanted to see if Superman was really
super strong,
was really impenetrable, right?
Okay. Oh no.
And that Reeves actually convinced the boy to give him the gun by saying that, yeah, those bullets are not going to hurt me, but they're going to ricochet off me and kill someone else.
Oh my
and
God.
the boy handed him the gun and he de-escalated the thing. And that's this story that people like always reference, like, look at what this like great guy was and he was so good with the kids. But I don't have any proof that happened. But he definitely did, like, he eventually gave up smoking because he was trying to be like a good.
Oh, he knew kids were looking at him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he has, we're going to talk a
Good
lot.
man.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about his personal life, but he tried to really keep that out of
What a good
the world.
man.
Yeah. But anyway, in his personal life, because that's gonna, when we get into the murder scene.
Tell me he's a bad guy.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. But let's just talk about, because we got to figure out like what
the heck
if
happened?
if he didn't kill himself, who had, motives. Let me tell you about his personal life.
Okay.
He had gotten married when he was young with someone he met at the Pasadena Playhouse. They were married for almost a decade, never had any children. When he came back from the war, he divorced her,
He's
and
a changed man.
that was the end of it. All that trauma he saw on Broadway,
PTSD. Yeah.
So leading up to his death, he had a relationship with Toni Mannix. She was a showgirl who was 8 years older than him, and also the wife of a studio executive, former MGM vice president Eddie Mannix, who, as I said, had mob and police connections. So apparently Eddie knew about the affair but didn't really care. Like, this was a pretty open relationship and they were all good. That's the story. But again, she bought him his car. She bought him this house.
Oh, she was like a sugar mama.
Yes, she was his sugar mama.
How old was he at this time? Like in his 20s?
Probably like 40.
Oh, he's older.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But then he meets Leonore Lemmon.
I like that name.
A New York socialite lounge singer. She was a little bit younger. So he drops his sugar mama and proposes to, how do I pronounce her name? Leonore. It looks like it should be Lenore, but Leonore is how, when I Googled pronunciation.
Leonore Lemmon. That sounds like a fake name. That's a show name.
So he ends it with Toni, and he proposes to Lenore 6 months into their relationship.
Okay, a little risque. Was she pregnant?
No, but they had a very turbulent relationship because there are rumors that, like, so she was sort of problematic to begin with. She had been banned from a lot of clubs in New York. She got into fights a lot. Everyone's like, they were just doing a lot of drinking together and they were fighting a lot. There's also stories like she thought she was marrying Superman, and then she finds out that, like, he's really not that financially well off, and really his ex-girlfriend had been financially
funding everything.
Exactly. And so were they having some issues? They were supposedly going to be married 3 days later, but another theory is that maybe he was like, you know what, I don't want this in my life, and he wasn't going to marry her.
That's brutal.
So that's kind of what was happening. Also, he had 3 serious car accidents leading up to his death.
Oh, something wrong with him.
He had a brain concussion.
Oh no.
He was prescribed painkillers, and we know he was mixing with heavy alcohol use. And so potentially was he, like, more volatile leading up to his death? Okay.
Maybe I'm getting more convinced.
Yeah, that's potential suicide.
Yeah.
Okay, so
sounds like a mentee bee.
The evening of June 15th, Robert Condon. He was
Condon?
Condon.
Oh, Condon.
Yeah, Robert Condon. Condon?
I don't know.
He's a writer. He was doing an article on, there was actually going to be like an exhibition boxing match, because again, he's like just trying to find ways to make money. Right. And so this writer was doing a piece on them. And so Lenore, Robert, and Reeves, they go out to dinner. They're out drinking. They come home around 11 o'clock. George goes to bed. And then their neighbors, Bill Bliss and Carol Von Ronkel, come knocking on the door at about midnight. So they come in, they join Lenore and Robert, and they're having some drinks. And apparently George comes downstairs in his bathrobe and he's like ranting at them about, like, it's after midnight.
Oh no.
You're being loud. What are you doing here? You guys should go home. Then apparently they said he sat down, he had a drink with the guests, and then he went upstairs to go to bed.
And he shot himself.
Lemmon, now and we're going to talk more details about this a little bit later, but Lemmon starts telling the other guests that he's sulking. He's probably going to go shoot himself now. And then they claim they heard a single gunshot, and they go up and they discover him dead in his bed. It takes them 45 minutes before they call 911.
Hold on. I'm being convinced other ways now.
Back and forth.
Hold up.
Uh,
45
45
minutes?
minutes.
Why?
So George Reeves was upstairs on his bed, naked. Apparently, that's an odd way to commit suicide. Totally naked is what the Google tells me.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be found
No.
naked ever.
No, but that's also
But-
how Marilyn Monroe was found.
Well, we
But
also
we
don't
didn't
think
believe
he
she
killed
killed
herself
herself.
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So he was naked with a Luger on the floor between his feet.
That's a gun.
That's a gun. And a single bullet hole in the head.
This is gruesome, but like where on the head?
I'm so happy you asked. It went in his right temple, out his left temple, and lodged in the ceiling.
And he's a righty.
Yes. And then when he shot himself, it appears as though he fell back onto his back. The case was open and shut. In fact, there were no photos taken of the scene, and nobody was ever brought in for questioning.
Because it looked that obvious as a suicide, is what they claim, I assume.
And we're going to talk about also part of why that wasn't investigated.
Yeah, hold on.
And Reeves' mother disagreed with the suicide theory. She actually hired an investigator who found a lot of discrepancies. He claimed to believe that he thought George Reeves was a victim of foul play, but he could not definitively prove it. And so then George Reeves gets buried. His mother eventually exhumes him to cremate him, and then he is now interned between his mom and his aunt in a California cemetery.
Okay.
So some of the discrepancies that we're going to discuss here in the crime scene. You ask, why did they wait 45 minutes? Were they cleaning up a crime, or were they just frazzled because they were all at this like crazy level of intoxication?
Okay, but like frazzled for 45 minutes?
Well, people are like, were they trying to sober up? Were they trying to clean up a crime
it's
scene?
not like they were going to get arrested for being drunk in their own home.
Yeah. Huh?
Call 911.
So 45 minutes to get a phone call. That's like red flag number one. The witnesses were so inebriated, they weren't able to provide a straight statement
Oh.
to the police. So we have,
Even after 45 minutes.
well, we have
okay.
4 people
They're that drunk.
in the house.
Hold on, okay.
We have 4 people in the house, and the police kind of ask some questions in that moment. They all are kind of giving these wild different stories, and they're all clearly drunk, but they never say like, hey, why don't you come on down to the
Station.
precinct and give
Yeah.
us a, or even like, hey, sober up and come back tomorrow. Like there was no follow-up
That's
question. This is a throwback to Marilyn Monroe. Guess where the sheets were when
in the
police
wash.
showed up? In the wash.
I bet they were faking being drunk.
Well, we know he was for sure drunk. There were no fingerprints on the gun.
None at all.
None.
So it was wiped.
Completely wiped. Not Reeves' fingerprints.
No.
No one in this house. Zero
Red
fingerprints.
flag.
They remember I told you the witnesses, while giving kind of discombobulated statements, they all said they heard one shot.
How many bullets were missing?
Well, we don't know how many were missing the gun because no one ever counted.
Oh,
But there were 2
God.
additional bullets discovered embedded in the bedroom floor. All 3 of the bullets had been fired from the weapon found at Reeves' feet, though all witnesses agreed they'd only heard one shot. Leonore claimed that she was playing with a gun on another occasion several days earlier and it accidentally discharged, and that's all that was. But weird.
She played with it days before and her prints weren't on the gun. This is weird. The no prints is the biggest red flag to me.
Yep. The police never checked Reeves' fingers for gunshot wound residue because, again, I think it's like it was probably less common then, but they did check his body, his head. Okay. And there was no gunshot residue on his head, indicating that the gun would have had to have been over a foot away from his head.
Somebody shot him.
The shell casing from the spent bullet was found underneath his back. So he was laying on top of the spent shell casing from the gun, and everyone's saying that the casing should have flown away from the body.
Right.
So it should have been found like maybe
In front of
elsewhere
him.
on the bed or on
Yeah.
the ground. But how did he end up on top of this spent
So-
casing?
Yeah, what?
That investigation that his mother did noted bruises to his head and body. No one ever investigated where did these bruises come from. I don't know. I mean, he was like a Superman.
Yeah, and he was a boxer. So,
Yeah,
right.
He was getting
So,
ready for
like,
boxing, so maybe that's not as exciting. So, I mean, it does sound like there are theories we're getting to that like someone came into the room and shot him. I will say there was no evidence that someone else was in the room either.
We just have evidence that the bullet wasn't.
We just have evidence that there were multiple gun bullets shot,
And then it likely
that he-
wasn't from next to him.
that it wasn't from up against his head as one would usually shoot themselves.
Right.
and he was naked, which is odd.
It's all so weird.
I will also say, even though the mom is like adamant that this wasn't suicide, I did discover they were not super close.
Oh, him and his mother?
Yeah, she had actually lied to him about who his birth father was.
Oh my God.
And so she was pregnant, she got, pregnant out of wedlock, and they hurried up and got married. And so he was born 5 months into the marriage.
Oh.
But that's a no-no.
Yeah.
So she was lying to him his entire life about his birthday. In fact, when she buried him, she put the wrong birthday on his.
She put his lied birthday.
No,
or
she
the
just
real one?
just messed up. She just put a random. She didn't even know the day she'd been lying to him about.
Oh my God. What a horrible mom.
And when he was visiting family, his stepdad, who he thought was his dad, who had actually adopted him.
Okay. He sounds like a good man.
His stepdad left. Okay. So George's mom tells George, "Oh, your dad died while you were gone."
But he just left.
But he had just left. So he thinks for like a decade that his real dad, who's not even his dad, has died.
And the stepdad's probably like, why hasn't he reached out to me this whole time?
I mean, or maybe this,
Oh my
I don't know.
God.
Or maybe the stepdad was like, I need space from this crazy woman who was George's mom.
This is sad.
So anyway, the point is that they had actually didn't speak for like a decade. It sounds like they were on good terms at the time of his death, but I'm just saying that maybe she didn't really know everything there was to know about him and his current life and his
I'm like,
mental
hold on.
health. Yep.
Oh.
But she adamant, she died saying like he did not kill himself. He was murdered.
Was there a letter?
There was no note.
Hmm.
So you're leaning towards murder.
I don't know. Like, I could probably believe that his mental state wasn't well after knowing everything.
Well, let me tell
But
you.
the no prints is crazy to me.
Yeah. And
I'm having a really hard
the
time.
gunshot residue too is okay. So let me give you the theories here then. So
Okay.
theory one, the official story, suicide. Again, his fiance claims that he was so depressed, he was struggling to find work outside of Superman. But his coworker who was on the show with him, Noelle Neal, disagrees that he was depressed. Said that she had just spoken to him about how excited he was. He was going to direct. They were going to let him direct the next season. The
Of the show?
season of Superman. He was like, I'm ready to get behind the camera. He actually was talking to her about like making a few films he wanted to be a part of. He was trying to launch his own kind of production company. And after he got married, he was going to take a tour. He and his new wife were going to go to Australia where he was going to have a bunch of press opportunities and he was supposed to be making like $20,000 off of that.
Oh
So
my gosh.
everyone thought like, he seemed to be doing like
Good.
good
Like,
and
well.
in a good place. Yeah. And again, this goes with his mother saying he wasn't depressed, but does the mother know? I don't know.
Yeah, to what extent?
I guess to say on the pro suicide kind of column, at the time of his autopsy, his blood alcohol level was 0.27.
That is a lot of
He
alcohol.
does this all
Maybe
the
he
time.
couldn't hold the gun right and shot himself from that
Well, because
far.
you know what else he had in his system?
Coke.
Narcotics.
Yeah.
Because he had these 3 car accidents.
Oh.
If you don't believe suicide, then you would think murder, right?
Murder.
So the murder, I told you, we have 3 potential suspects. So the first suspect, the fiance. As I mentioned, she was a socialite lounge singer, but kind of a little rough around the edges. She had been banned from clubs. She was very controlling. She had quite a temper. And again, everyone had been drinking. And as I mentioned, like,
and drinking a lot.
drinking a lot. And the neighbors came over and knocked on the door. And apparently he came down and he was yelling at them that he wanted them out of the house. And then I know he sat down and had a drink with them. But the point is, like, was Leonore embarrassed that he had like spoken to her and her friends like that? Was that her motive to go upstairs and they have a little fight and she shoots him? The other theory is that, again, they were supposed to be getting married 3 days after his death. But people
3 days.
3 days. But people say that he was having second thoughts about the whole
I'm
thing.
thinking he killed himself.
Oh, you think he killed himself because the wedding was 3 days ago? Well, the people are theorizing that maybe she killed him because he was like, I'm not marrying you. And then she killed him.
I don't know.
But the argument then would be, well, he's not going to marry you if you shoot him.
He's sounding mentally ill. Yeah, what else?
So I told you that Leonore said, oh, he's upstairs moping. He's probably going to shoot himself now, right?
Right. That was a quote.
Yes. But I told you all of these witnesses had different
Perspectives.
quotes because were they all just drunk and didn't know? Could they not get their story straight?
Right, yeah.
So Bill Bliss told Millicent Trent, she wasn't there, that he was having a drink when he heard the shot ring out and that Leonore Lemmon ran downstairs and said Tell them I was down here. Tell them I was down here. Okay. So she upstairs.
So she wasn't upstairs.
That's one person. But you know what else? Other witnesses said that when he went upstairs, it wasn't just her saying what she's going to shoot himself. She actually narrated it. She said he's going upstairs to shoot himself. Then they heard a sound from the bedroom and she said, see, he's opening the drawer to get the gun. And then a single shot rang out and she said, I told you he shot himself.
What?
That's weird.
That is so weird.
Like sociopathic. She left California the day after this happened, forever, never came back.
We don't know what happened to her? Or she just didn't come back?
We do know she's now dead, but she just didn't come back.
Okay.
And actually, it gets weirder because she did come back once because she broke through the police tape to steal food, alcohol, and cashier's checks, then left and never returned.
So she returned to the crime scene.
Yes.
Like most killers do.
Uh-huh. Helped herself to some items in the house.
Probably took some evidence.
And then left, but she didn't go to his funeral.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what I want to believe. I'm all over the place. She sounds crazy. I keep flipping. Every time you tell me something new, I flip.
Okay. Then we have the Mannixes. Could it be Eddie or Toni or both? Okay.
Eddie or Toni?
So, okay, Toni, they were in a very long relationship. I think earlier it said 3 years, but I think it was like almost a decade. Toni was in a relationship with George for almost a decade.
Oh, this was the sugar mama.
Yes. And he broke up with her and she was so heartbroken. So people are like, was that her motive? Was she heartbroken? Supposedly, this goes beyond just her being heartbroken. She had actually been stalking him.
Oh, no.
He had been receiving death threats on his unlisted telephone line. Most of them came late at night. There were sometimes 20 or more phone calls each day. Often the anonymous caller would just hang up. Reeves said, I know it's her, right? So he actually filed a police report with the Beverly Hills Police Department. He had a complaint with the LA District Attorney's Office.
Like a restraining order?
Yes. He said, I think it's Toni Mannix. And the DA said, well, it can't be Toni because Toni's also receiving phone calls.
Oh my God.
But the DA, do we trust them? How do we know Toni's receiving phone calls? Is she just saying she's receiving phone calls? I don't know.
He's just saying she's.
But no, I believe he's being stalked. And he reached out to a lawyer and he said, I need to do what I need to get a restraining order.
Okay.
He is harassing me and my fiance.
Right.
Okay. So that's leading up to it. Despite these rumors of harassment, though, Toni was apparently just like devastated by his death. She wore black for years. She held Catholic masses in his name. And according to some accounts, she actually made a deathbed confession.
A deathbed
They
confession?
claim that she went to confession and said, I am responsible for his death. But we have no proof that this happened.
Yeah, because aren't confessions secret?
Yeah. And it's like, it's just like it's hearsay.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know about that, but that is a rumor. And the other thing that's interesting is that she, at 4:30 in the morning, she called Phyllis Coates. So Phyllis Coates was one of the actresses who played Lois Lane opposite him and said, the boy's dead. He's been murdered. 4:30 in the morning. How'd she know so quickly?
Oh my God.
I guess maybe the house was in her name. I don't know. Also, though, how did she know he was murdered when everyone else thought it was suicide?
Yeah.
You know? So Toni Mannix. And then our last potential suspect is her husband, Eddie. So he was the MGM vice president, again, mafia and police ties, Toni's husband.
Right.
He was known as MGM's fixer. So his job was to protect the stars from scandals. Remember this, like all of these actors were owned by the studios.
Okay.
And so if they, now we're like, they can go out and make an ass of themselves and they're just going to impact themselves. But like they would be a detriment to the studio. So his job was like to clean up after them, keep them squeaky clean images, like covered up abortions, affairs, addictions, alleged crimes. And this often meant bribing police and silencing reporters to make things disappear.
Oh, he cleaned the scene up.
He also had, the Hollywood of this time, the studios also worked with organized crime, particularly in labor unions, nightclubs, and the distribution side of the business. So a lot of studio figures had close ties with mob figures. And so the thought is like MGM was the biggest studio at the time. They for sure would have also had mafia ties. So the theory here is that Mannix, even though it might not have even been that he killed him because he had an affair with his wife, because he seemed to really like let them be out in public doing
Just
their
let them
thing.
live their life.
He's
yeah.
more likely was he like, my wife is so devastated and she won't stop talking about George Reeves.
Let's kill this guy.
And so that was his motive.
I don't know if that's, I don't know.
So you don't believe that, huh? Let me just give you one more interesting story, see if it changes your mind.
Okay.
So I told you he had 3 car accidents leading up to
Yeah,
his
and
death.
he was on chronic pain meds.
So the first accident, his car was nearly crushed by 2 trucks on the freeway. Second accident, a speeding car nearly killed him, but he survived. Third time, his brakes failed on a narrow, twisting road.
Like but somebody's
Guess what when he took his car in, guess what they told him?
somebody cut the cables.
All of the brake fluid had been drained.
Oh my god.
The mechanic said, your system is in perfect working order. All
Other
we
than
can say is that you don't have any brake fluid. And I think that someone pumped the fluid out of your brakes. And so it sounds like initially.
What was the timing of all of these?
This is like
lead up to his death?
in the months leading up.
He had 3 separate car accidents in a couple months.
Yeah, but they were all like suspicious, like 2 trucks.
Yeah,
almost
but like, what's the likelihood of having one accident,
Yeah.
yet alone 3? Like somebody's
what's
coming after
the
him.
likelihood of your brakes failing and then them being like, someone just pumped all the brake fluid out?
Oh my god!
So-
Somebody killed him.
So it sounds like at first he's like,
I'm back on.
It sounds like at first he was like, I don't believe that. I don't think that's what's going on. But then when he was also getting those calls
and
threats against his life, he was like, that's why he was like, wait, my brake fluid was drained and I'm getting threatening calls. I need a restraining order. And that's what prompted him to like get the police involved.
Yeah, this is wild.
Those are the theories. Unfortunately, all of these potential suspects have died. So we don't have an answer now. We probably will never have an answer. But yeah, what you think? You're thinking Eddie Mannix?
I think I flipped. Well, I don't know who the killer is, but I do think his death is suspicious.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think you can blatantly say suicide. That's where I'm at. I don't know if it's Eddie. I don't know if it's Leonore. She sounds crazy, though.
Yeah.
And the way she returned and left is a red flag.
Yeah. It's so hard. I feel like the last couple episodes here, I've been like, I have no opinion, but I just don't really know where I fall. Cause I mean, the man is on narcotics and a ton of alcohol.
I forgot how drunk he was.
Why wouldn't we just say, he was frustrated and he was in this rough relationship and he was really drunk and on pain meds and high risk to kill himself, right?
But like, why were there no prints?
Yeah. I don't know. How did he fall on top of the spent casing? Why were there no prints? Why was it further than a foot? It was like a foot and a half from his head, because
like not likely that he was
also why was the gun just getting fired all the time? So that's kind of, if you believe that he was murdered, like if you watch Unsolved Mysteries, the OG Unsolved Mysteries,
right.
They covered this and they talk about, like, the theory is someone snuck up into the room because, again, this house was actually in the Mannix name. So
anybody could have come in.
They could have just come in. Everyone else is drunk in like the parlor hanging out. So someone could have just come upstairs.
Was he naked?
Shot him. Well, he did come down. I think he was in bed. So he came down in a
robe.
In a robe.
Oh, so he sleeps naked.
And he was in a robe.
So
he had his drink.
I don't know. I mean, also, if he was that drunk, maybe he stripped.
Yeah, maybe
he
didn't care. Yeah, again, I'm like, I would be thinking like, that's not how I want to be found.
Exactly.
But if you're so drunk and high, maybe you don't care.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't matter.
But I do think it's weird that, I guess that's kind of why it goes back to, could it have been the studios? Like, how did these police show up? We have a celebrity. You don't take a single photo of the scene.
This is weird.
You had 4 people. It's also weird that like this guy died with 4 people in the house.
I'm like, also somebody that well known, I don't think you should always rule out everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But if the police were in the Mannix's pocket, they're just like, case closed. Suicide. We don't need to investigate.
I think I'm still 50-50. Like, I don't think I could solidly say one way or the other right now.
Yeah, I guess I would not be surprised either way. I don't know. I was about to say, like, leaning towards either suicide or his fiance, but then I also, what's up with the brake fluid?
Well, she could have done that.
But I feel like she just seems like she was probably like a heat of the moment, emotional
Versus brake fluid sounds
versus,
more like mob.
planned.
Yeah.
And
well, she probably could have connections to the mob too.
yeah, but I mean, I think her motive is
Yeah,
just
you're
feels
right.
much more like not premeditated. Yeah. Whereas like the threats and all of that was going on for months. That feels like more like premeditation. If the police had just actually investigated, then we could probably all accept suicide and move on.
Yeah.
But it
It's
just
the lack
it's really
of
too bad that
search.
all of
Yeah.
these people have died and there was zero investigation. And again, not even a crime scene photo for us to look at and be like,
Sad.
So, all right. So it's kind of a bummer for our listeners.
Yeah, sorry, 50-50.
We're
You
leaving
decide.
with,
Yeah.
with no. Okay, well, like Dyatlov Pass, why don't you guys reach out and let us know what you think? Because
We have no freaking clue.
we don't know. And sadly, I don't think it will ever be known.
Rest in peace, though, buddy.
Guys, just a reminder, don't forget to check out our Facebook and Instagram pages at 3 Scheme Queens. That's the number 3 Scheme Queens, all one word. We're also on Reddit, same username. If you want to check out our website, go to 3schemequeens.com and you can find links to our social media accounts, our Buzzsprout page, all of our episodes, additional content, our contact page, and our discussion board where you can engage with us and share any updates on the topics that we have discussed. Let us know how we're doing and what you want to hear next. There are also opportunities to financially support us. There are links to buy us a cup of coffee, links to our recently updated merch store, and affiliate links. And as always, if you choose not to financially support us, we appreciate the follows, the downloads, listens, the likes. Do you want to take it for Kate and tell the people?
If you know 2 people who like comic books, who reads comic books nowadays, though?
I don't know. Pick one person who likes DC.
Yep.
And one person who likes Marvel.
Anyways, send this video to them. And then after that,
Well, we're not on video.
Oh, send this episode to them. And then after that, scroll on down. Give us a 5-star review. Like, subscribe, share. What else does she say?
Yeah, I don't know. Just thanks for the support.
Interact.
And get ready because next Tuesday,
the season
2 starts off.
Part 2.
So see you next week, guys.
Bye. See you next Tuesday.